Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, and here with my co-host, Gail Burke. And we're continuing a discussion we had a couple of weeks ago with the Reverend Myogen Joan Amaral. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And,
welcome to the show. Thanks, Gail.
Where we ended up the last time is you created a challenge for us of Beverly is small enough to make things happen and big enough to have lots of diversity.
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Yeah.
So where do you think this goes? What kind of diversity do you think we're working with right now?
Yeah. Well, so diversity just means difference.
Yeah.
Like, you're a guy, I'm a girl.
Yes.
Gail and I are both women. She's wearing purple, I'm wearing black.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe actually what's coming up right now is, I don't know, I'm much more interested in where we overlap. You know, so Gail's wearing purple and I'm wearing black. So that's a difference that's obvious, but we may not know right away what we might have in common. Mm-hmm. That actually makes it much more interesting, particularly when we're going to have difficult conversations, if we are, ever in our lives. So one of the things that I love about being here, and this is round 3, as you said, is to have the chance to build friendship, to actually get to know each other, you know, more and more, so that we can find the ways that we overlap, you know, as a basis of you know, building trust, building solidarity, building connection, you know. Because the fact of the matter is, in Buddhism, the reason that we sit so much is because it's difficult to realize that we're not in control. You know, that things are changing, the world is changing. And, you know, sometimes that's scary, and sometimes we might feel left behind, sometimes we might feel left out. You know, one of the questions I think that's most poignant is, what about me? So I like to personally have the chance, whoever I'm talking with, to get that kind of opening where someone can feel that I am on your side, you know? So with regard to Beverly in particular, we've been talking about immigration for the last conversation was on immigration, and I believe we're going to deepen. The work that we're doing with
ECHO and some of these programs.
Yeah, and so the issue is that, you know, Beverly is big enough to have all these train stations that we have. You know, it's growing in so many different ways. Did I tell you that there are some people who think that Zen Center is that cupcake place?
Cupcake?
Which I think is, you know, I was charmed when I heard that, you know, but the cupcake place is the one on Rantoul Street, Crave, and they have fabulous cupcakes.
Okay.
Have you been there?
No.
Okay.
I don't live in Beverly anymore.
Oh, you don't?
No, I moved to Peabody.
You live in Peabody?
2 years ago, yeah.
There's a lot of Portuguese people in Peabody.
Yes.
That's my people. Did you know that?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. My people are... The Amaral name is very well known.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I live in Brooksby Village, so...
Oh, you do?
Yes, it's kind of a... We live in kind of a bubble.
I have 2 friends who live there.
Really?
Joan and, Wendy. She's new.
I'll talk to you after the show about that, because I do know somebody by the name of Wendy.
She just moved in, and she's looking for connection.
Oh,
you know, and so Brooksby is a great place for these kinds of conversations to happen. Brooksby. So I lived in a monastery for a long time in the mountains, and so we were all sort of stuck together, you know, and you have to figure it out. So at Brooksby, you have your own kitchen, right? So you don't have communal eating. Is that right?
We have 5 restaurants at Brooksby. But some apartments, like my apartment, I have a big kitchen.
Okay, so
for Brooksby, it's big.
Do you cook?
I cook sometimes my own meals.
Well, you have the meal plan you pick.
We have a meal plan.
So that a certain number of meals are in the communal restaurant.
Gail, that's great.
Yeah, it's a very interesting place, very interesting people.
This is a place you can have conversations. You can meet different types of people.
Yes.
See, I would call that a practice place.
I do too.
You don't get to choose your neighbors. Oh, and so before I forget, I have to share this. Last night I mentioned that I was here at the high school upstairs for the climate forum, the climate resolution forum. Like, what are we going to do, you know? How are we going to take care of our planet? And one person said something that I loved, and I want to share this. He said, and so this is in Beverly, he said, okay, and there are 150 people there. He said, how many people here could go to your next door neighbor, knock on their door, and your neighbor would open it and let you in, meaning that they know you, you know? How many of you know your neighbor's names and they know you? And many people raised their hands, and that's what I love about Beverly. That's the small part. But then this man went on to say, and I can't remember his name, he went on to say, okay, this is really important because do you know what's the most important determinant in the event of a major event, you know, an environmental event, an attack of some kind? What is the major determinant in your likelihood of surviving some major event? Knowing your neighbors. Yes. This hit me really hard. So I've been thinking about this, and the one word I want to make sure I get out in this conversation is potlucks. You've already got a situation, Gail, living in a community where it's more contained, where people are more available, for better or for worse. And as a practice with that, you just sort of let go of the bad stuff and you know, relish the good stuff.
Like, well, you can pick and choose. Too.
Yes, exactly. And everybody's kind of right there, and you don't have to go outside.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I do, because I drive, and I'm still mobile enough.
Stir crazy.
And I would go stir crazy if I couldn't get out of there. But, you know, it's a lovely place, and in general, the people are very accepting. I have a different point of view than many, so they're not always accepting.
Good for you. Okay. So maybe you'll have some potlucks or some gatherings where you'll have a chance to share.
It's changing
experiences.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. What's changing?
The fact that yes, there are people with different opinions that live here.
Oh, good.
And we're not afraid to speak them.
Yeah.
You know, that was an eye-opener for some.
Yes.
Because it's like living in a bubble. Because you all have commonalities as far as your living, the way you live, the way you eat, the places you go, the things that are available. Everybody can do whatever, and there's plenty of things to do, believe me. You don't get bored.
Yeah.
So in that way, there's a lot of diversity.
Yes.
As far as the people themselves, there's not a whole lot of diversity, especially in thinking.
So you feel like a minority.
I know I am, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. I intend to change it.
You intend to change your feeling? Or?
No.
Oh, look out, Brooksby Village.
The fact that I'm in the minority.
There'll be a small cloud appearing above the village.
So, Gail, this is very important. So you as a minority you have something that you'd like to express.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah, and I think this is true of all minorities.
Yes.
Yes, I think.
And it's unusual because I have felt like I've been a minority in other places, politically speaking.
Yes. So this, what I would say, is extremely important in the work that we want to do. To feel what it's like when I feel like I'm a minority in a group, I don't do well. It's hard.
It is hard.
Because I feel alone.
But you can overcome that. I've been in the minority politically for many, many, many years. So for me, it's easy. I just barge right in.
Yeah, and then what happens?
And then they look startled and say, oh.
Yeah.
Who is this person?
Yeah. And so
they know who I am.
Well, that's a good question. Okay, so since this is the first time us meeting, so this is a fundamental Zen question.
Uh-oh.
Who are you?
Well, I don't think we have time to go into it tonight.
No, Zen is like now. It could be one word. What's or how would you respond to that question? And it's a hard question.
Yeah, it is.
Because we might think, oh, I'm Joan. Well, is that really who you are? So
What would you like to be known as?
Gail.
Yeah. Okay, what's a Gale?
Well, this particular Gail is one with definite opinions, willing to listen, but don't put words in my mouth, which happens sometimes. And I've cautioned one person, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't put words in my mouth. And he stopped. When I first came there, I spoke up at a meeting, and someone said to me afterwards, Gail, you have to learn who your audience is. And I looked at him and I said, Ken, I know very well who my audience is, and that's why I say what I say.
Yeah. So we're back to the issue you brought up of you're a minority.
Yes.
You've got something to contribute.
Yes. Yes.
You got something
It's
you
hard.
want to.
It's
Yes.
hard.
You want to belong to the group, even though you are a minority. But this is what kind of belonging can you get into?
Yes.
Well, you have to adopt the attitude that you have your own ideas and opinions. The people there may disagree with you, and that's okay. They're entitled. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to back down. And if you can present me with facts that show that I'm wrong, then I'll take a second look. But if you can't and you're just talking from, well, someone told me, I always say, what's your source? And they don't like that because they don't have a source. So,
You know what's coming up for me to share, and I hope this is not too Buddhist-y. I grew up Catholic, for what that's worth.
so did I.
And there's a lot of similarity, as it turns out, between Catholicism and Zen Buddhism. I think it's around the ritual. May I ask you, because we know each other a little bit more, are you Catholic by any
Yes.
chance? Oh, okay. So I say that I went through all the sacraments up till marriage. I stopped at marriage. But I've been confirmed and baptized. And one of the things that, and we have Roman Catholics who practice with us at the Zen Center. And I think, for me and for others I've spoken with who are Roman Catholic, there's something about the ritual that's all very familiar, that's kind of comforting and that holds us a little bit, you know. The incense, the smell of the incense, and the sounds of the bells and
And the
stuff
music,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's all kind of groundwork. So you have more of a feeling of me as I go into some Buddhist teachings. Because
Well, let me ask you a question. I
Yes.
don't know a lot about Buddhism,
oh, okay.
but I did pull up an article about the Secular Buddhist Association.
Oh,
And I looked at it and I thought, well, this is interesting.
Yes,
because
that's
I
very
always, I always thought of Buddhism.
Have you heard of it?
You
Nope.
never heard of it?
No.
but
Okay.
I'm familiar
Did you
with the
just invent it?
concept.
No.
No, I didn't invent it. No, I got this right off the
What's your
net.
source?
And that's the Secular Buddhist Association.
Okay.
I think it's a bona fide
Yeah.
association. And I thought, secular, that's interesting. I never thought of it. Of Buddhism, I always thought of it as a religion.
Oh, thank you.
The Zen
Because-
part,
Yes.
I don't know much about either, but I assume it has to do with meditation and
Absolutely.
yoga and all of that, which
meditation.
I have done.
Zen means meditation. Oh, you've
Yeah.
done yoga?
I've done yoga.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
I find it very relaxing.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yoga is a wonderful practice, and meditation is a yogic practice. So yogic, it means yoking body and mind.
But do you have, when we were talking about diversity,
Yes.
do you have a lot of diversity in the people that come to learn how to do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we've had people who voted for all kinds of people who come, and I'm proud of that. Because it's kind of depressing to think that you're only talking to people who agree with you. And it's also depressing to think that talking is only about agreeing or disagreeing. I think, I want my life to be much wider than who agrees with me and who disagrees with me. But back to your question, so there is a whole movement, like in other religions, around secularism.
Right.
Because I think it's part of a creative process of all of us trying to discover what is at the heart of all of these practices, all of these teachings. And so for some people, some of the religious stuff is a little bit baggage. It's a little bit much for people. And some people have had difficult experiences in certain religious traditions. So
They have, but at the same time, I think we're moving so far away from religion.
I agree.
It's scary.
Yes, okay. So I was talking with someone about this earlier today. I personally feel like it's time to take back religion. And I'm going to say this with you because I feel without religion, there's going to be a major hole in human life. But I also feel that religion is not about dogma. It's not about fundamentalism. I think it's deeply personal. I think it's an oxymoron to say organized religion. But I also understand why we might say organized religion, because like if we weren't organized at the Zen Center and didn't have like a schedule, people wouldn't know when to come, and I'd be sitting there by myself.
That's right.
So I think you say organized religion because you're pointing toward group practice, which I think is vital, especially for Americans. I'm from New Hampshire, and we're rugged individualists in New Hampshire. So this is hard to be in community, but it's so important, and it always feels so much better. It felt so good to be at this forum last night with all those people. So religious practice, then, the word religion, actually etymologically, religere. It's ligere as in ligament. So it's about connection, linking, what connects,
Exactly.
Yes, so in connecting with what? What do we think? Like for you as a Catholic, when I talk about this, when you feel something there, what do you think that connects us with?
I think one of the comments that always stuck with me is Joseph Campbell was on a show and got talking about it, and he raised the question of he felt sorry for people who didn't have an invisible means of support. And to him, that was the essence of religion. Something beyond us that helps you in some way. So you get into the question of meditating. Okay, well, you're thinking about something here, or you're not thinking about something.
Thank you.
Whatever.
You're thinking about nothing.
Thinking, non-thinking is what we would say.
The other joke I always like is somebody meditating. Whose navel are you contemplating? But you get to the question of, okay, what in this current day and age, with all the secularism that's going on, and people divorcing themselves from religion, what are they missing? When you say, okay, we got to have a revitalization of religion, what are they missing that religion provides that secularism doesn't cover, doesn't help?
Yes. Well, I think it has something to do with showing up at a specific time, not when you feel like it. Getting out of the comfort zone, getting out. I realized early on in my own practice, in my own training, that the more convenience I got, the more frustrated I got.
And the easier it is to say, not today.
Yes. There's something.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Inconvenient. There's something about inconvenience, about, being, and this is the question, are you disciplined enough to be free?
Right.
Did I say that before? That's such a good question. Are you disciplined enough to be free?
To be free as an American, is that what you mean?
Well, to be free as a human being, including American or whoever. In other words, freedom is not hanging out on the couch,
That's right.
channel surfing.
Absolutely.
Freedom isn't doing what I want, whenever I want, saying whatever I want. And I'm really interested in free speech. This is going to be we can maybe hang out with this. I'm much more interested in right speech, correct speech, wise speech. We could spend a few minutes on that, as opposed to focusing so much on free speech. I can say whatever I want, whenever I want. Because, back to something that, Gail, you were saying earlier, I really feel that within diversity, like difference, what I value, maybe this is being from New Hampshire, is independent thinking. I like to
Absolutely.
think
I agree
right
with
here,
you.
girlfriend.
Not only
I like to think for myself, and
Yes, yeah.
I don't want to be alone. I don't want to feel alone. I want to learn how to be with others. So this, and you asked about Buddhism, learning a little bit about it. One of the most important teachings is the teaching of interdependence. So it's, koans, non-duality. Have you heard any of these words in Zen? We're always, it's paradox, kind of.
Yeah.
But this is simultaneous inclusion. They're apparent paradoxes. Paradoxes? But it's actually what we would call non-clinging. It's called not being stuck in a fixed notion of who I am, for instance. Like the way I respond to the question, Joan, who are you, in this moment, is probably going to be different if I'm freed up tomorrow when you ask me, because a lot's happened.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So this free thinking, this independent thinking, works best when I understand that I live in the midst of everybody and everything else. Because otherwise, if I veer too off on my own independent thinking, then I can stray into isolation and loneliness. But we all know, especially as women, if we veer too much into dependency, it starts to sound like codependent, right? If we get too enmeshed with other people, then we lose our own sovereignty. So, Gail, I'm going to actually up the ante for a minute. This is just playful. Just for a second. Just with me just for a second. Because, I'm feeling it. I do this thing with people. I did this at the high school. Not this one, but Masconomet with 75 high school students. They loved it. At first, they hated it, but then they loved it. All it is a meditation called seeing and being seen. And we just do just what you and I are doing right now. We're just receiving each other. We're giving and receiving ourselves with each other, just through our eyes, just like this.
Is she trying to hypnotize me?
I love that. We got witnesses here, right? Okay, you're not alone. Whatever I'm doing, you're safe. But all we're doing is we're just sitting face to face, heart to heart with each other, long spine, chest open so that our heart is free and brave. And we're just breathing. And so what's happening here is I am fully aware of my butt in my chair and my heart beating and my breath. I can feel my heart beating. It's kind of exciting. Feel my breath in my belly. I'm right here in my own body. No one can mess with me. And here you are, Gail. I'm receiving you completely. I'm noticing the expression on your face. I'm thinking, I wonder how she's feeling, how this is. She's among all these people. She knows this is very familiar terrain, but this is a new thing. So there's a simultaneity here of I can be with myself and open to you. And I can be with you without getting sucked in. There's no problem.
Okay.
It's so freeing. And so this is the simultaneity of independent thinking within the context of interdependence. How did that feel?
It felt okay. I'm not used to dealing with people that are open like that, other than my friends. But I'm used to dealing with a whole different group of people who, when I walk into the room, it's like, oh no, she's here again.
My hand's cold, but give me your hand.
Well, basically what you're defining
And
is what a friend is.
Yes.
True.
Somebody who you can be open with,
yeah,
share things, and not be afraid they're going to use them against you.
yeah. Well, my way of dealing with that kind of attitude is I laugh. And I talk to them.
Oh, yeah. Laughing at somebody is a devastating thing.
I laugh with them
Oh, okay.
sometimes, but I make jokes with them.
I appreciate, George, that you raised the word friendship. Do you know Amaral, my last name? When my grandfather first landed here, it's a beautiful name. Amaral is a beautiful name. The root amar means to love. And Amaral, my grandfather told my mother
No,
that it
say
means...
from the Latin, amo amasama.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Amavi
okay.
amatus.
Yeah.
It means, so it's friendship. But when he arrived, they changed the spelling, and it was Amaral. My whole family in New Hampshire all spells it Amaral, but I changed it back to Amaral. But what I wanted to say about, so friendship and love, that's what we're talking about. And someone said, asked the question, what is a true friend? There are many ways, what is a true friend? And the response given in that moment was someone who will tell you the truth and not run away. So someone who will tell you the truth and stick around to hear how that landed.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, so that takes some courage.
Yeah. And it takes a while to become friends with people.
Yes, it
and
does.
It really, I think that most people I know consider a small group friends. You have lots of acquaintances.
Yes.
But not very many real friends.
Yes.
They're hard to find.
Yes, Gail. So
and they're hard to keep.
Yes, so this is round 3 of our conversation. What we're doing here in front of all of Beverly is growing friendship right here.
Okay.
Yay! See, just like this.
Yeah.
And so and it does take time. But with each conversation, maybe we go just a little bit deeper, because I think without friendship, it's very difficult to take chances. And I also think, we can be brave. You know that expression, I'm quoting a lot of different people, but I think this was the Buddha, who said, be the change you want to see in the world. You be the change. So when you said you don't encounter many open people, will you please vow to cultivate openness in yourself so that you can show that to all those people who aren't being open? That's the best way to
I
teach.
do.
Okay. Well, let's keep practicing that.
That's what I do.
that.
It's
Yeah.
practice. That's what I feel like I'm doing, practicing.
So,
But
yes.
we're getting to the end of the show.
Okay.
It's been delightful.
Well, I have one last question.
Sure.
Because you have a fantastic question right here that you didn't get a chance to ask, because I'm Mediterranean and I talk a lot.
Okay. Can you be a conservative and a Buddhist?
Can you be a conservative and a Buddhist? Absolutely, yes.
Good. The Secular Buddhist Association doesn't agree with that.
Yes, well,
Just so you know.
That's why I didn't hear of I've never heard of the Secular
Yeah,
Buddhist
yeah.
Association.
No,
but
it's interesting reading.
to be a
about it, though.
Buddhist, yes, absolutely. But you know what? To Buddhist, who cares about Buddhist? To come to the Zen Center North Shore and be a conservative, yes, please come. That's part of the diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody has to do their own thing. And it's like any group. You have one group that believes one thing, another group, maybe under the same umbrella, that disagrees.
Yes, absolutely.
That's diversity. I'm not sure the diversity we experience in our country today is...
Well, that's part of the learning process, that
Is
you
going
have to
well.
get different opinions and explore them and test them against your opinion. And as you started to say earlier, if the facts change, well, change your attitude, your opinion.
Well, diversity of thought. That's very important.
Yeah.
So what you said, it's very true that the conversation is not going so well nationally. So we're coming back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And maybe this is going to have to be the next round if you'll have me. So Gail, let's do it locally. Let's practice this conversation locally. Because that feels more manageable. Here we are in Beverly.
Well, yeah, you have to.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
We're
Thank
getting
you
the
very
signal.
much.
Thank you.
For coming to speak with us again, and we hope you'll come back. I think it's been a very interesting conversation,
Good.
and I'm sure that we'll be in touch.
Sounds good, Gail.
Okay.
Very good to meet you. Let's
Very
keep
nice
going.
to meet you, too.
Friend Gail.
Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our show. It's been a little bit different than our usual, which is great. It's always nice to have some different thoughts. Please watch us again. We'll be back shortly, and in a couple of weeks, maybe another week or so, with another entertaining show. Thanks for watching. Good night.